Manor Lords is out. You are playing the new version of the game, which I will admit, some of the things I'm talking about right now might have already been patched. But I like to talk about quality of life. Something that really excites me is making games last for longer durations and have a more familiar and fun experience if it has better quality of life. Now, what is quality of life? I mean, the best example is if something you do like once every 10 seconds in a game, and it's commonly done, it's associate that with a hotkey. An example, pausing the game, spacebar. That makes sense, right? You can access it. It's a very big key, and you do it really frequently in games. So it's really nice. It's easily accessible at your fingertips, and there's a hotkey associated with that. Alternatively, you'd be dragging it all the way to the side of the screen and clicking pause. That's just a small example, but I'm going to go through a bunch now, and hopefully modders can implement this, or maybe even the devs can implement this, or maybe everything just gets ignored because maybe my ideas are crap. Let's find out. I'll admit, when it comes down to games that are freshly coming out, the quality of life stuff for Manor Lords is actually exceptional. I feel like some of the stuff I talk about here may be a little bit nitpicky, but you guys can scream at me and bully me in the comments and let me know if I've gone too far. Okay, so as it currently stands, Q and E does a few things already. So if you open up the construction, which is C, there's construction, Q and E lets you shuffle through the tabs. I think this is super awesome. I love this. Also, Q and E lets you assign families onto jobs. So in this case, this mining pit, if I press E, it will add a new family on, but Q will do the exact opposite. That's super handy. And I love the fact that the hotkeys have dual purpose as well. Because in this game, you use WASD, which is awesome, by the way. And every game should do this now. You know what I'm talking about. WSD is the meta of moving around the map, and it's beautiful movement speed. That's also something I will give credit for Manor Lords as well. They give you keybinds, which is something really cool to have on release of a game. So you can see here, Q and E are used for construction categories, and QE are also used for assigning single families. There is also a hotkey for game speed as well, faster and slower. I can't remember what the defaults were, but I've reassigned them as plus and minus on the number pad. And if you look at your right hand right now, it will naturally hold on the mouse, and then your left hand will naturally fall, can't see it, on this side of the keyboard. So naturally, this hand is very close to the number pad, so you can just move your finger over and just hit. See plus and minus with your hand here? So you very quickly can hit plus and minus. For your left hand, it's got your space bar for your thumb, and Q, S, W, E. Listen, if you play first-person shooter games, you should probably know this, because once again, using hotkeys, specifically for those style of games, is super important. And it's something that's taken for granted for first-person shooters. But real-time strategies, keybinds are just amazing. Here's my suggestion. Let's go another step further. Why doesn't Q and E also affect construction? So let's say I build something. So I press C. Then I press all the way to a lumber camp by pressing Q. Then I click the lumber camp. Then I drop it. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if Q and E, specifically for this menu, increased or decreased priority? It's just something you do quite often. You find yourself building a load of houses in this game. And you're like, well, I want to build this one first. So I'll put this on very high. Then this one on high and this one on medium. And it just be kind of cool if Q and E increased or decreased the priority so you can build them in a bit more of a flow. Listen, if you play this game a fair bit, you'll know you enter certain issues where you reach this kind of traffic jam of construction because you've queued up too much construction. Well, the easy way of getting around that is set the priorities from highest to lowest working down, and you seem to think the construction naturally flows a little bit better, because otherwise they try and fit one log here, one log here, one log here. And they make kind of like a, once again, they make a bit of a traffic jam where they don't deliver them all in time, so you can't build them one by one. But if they're in priorities, they're building more of a set order. Q and E, awesome. WASD, absolutely awesome too. I'm so glad they've implemented that, and that would make life so much easier. Logistics. So you're familiar with them, right? Logistics are your oxes. And for the most part, carrying items on the map is quite straightforward. Anyone could pick them up. And they got a little cart so they can carry like 4 or 5 times more items than they would usually carry. And the result of that is obviously they can move things around a lot. Logistics are a lot better. But logs are the one exception that are carried around by oxes. You can see them on a sign at the very top. One thing isn't clear is how well your logistics are going in your settlement. And sometimes your logistics can break down, more than likely because you built a construction queue that goes on for way too long. So it'd be really nice if the game either gave you a notification at the top of the screen to tell you how to fix your logistics or where the bottleneck tends to lie. So for instance, if you are struggling because you're trying to move a lot of logs around because that's your main construction resource and you don't have enough oxes, wouldn't it be nice to have a notification to say logistics backlog? unfortunately, you need another ox because unfortunately, you're not going to be able to deal with the backlog quick enough with the one that you've got. So in this case, it might give you an incentive to buy another one, for instance, and stuff like that. Or it might give you a logistics warning saying that raw resources are just struggling to get moved around. Certain resources notifications, like for instance, we've got a massive backlog of clay that needs to move to the potter, but unfortunately, we don't have enough logistics for that area for that. So maybe you need to buy another storehouse, for instance, so you can have another pair of hands moving things around. It'd be kind of cool if the game gave you a little bit of feedback why that might be happening. But you do tend to find maybe mid to late game if you build a construction crew that's going on for too long and you've not micromanaged the priority of your construction very well, like this, you tend to find that you have a lot of buildings with like 2 logs, but they need 3 to construct it. They're all lined up in a row waiting to be built, but you're just kind of sitting on your hands waiting for that to happen, and that can be quite slow. And it'd be nice if the game just told you about that. Alright, next one. If you're not already aware, this is already in the game. If you hold tab, you give a breakdown of population, needs, amount of people working in the said camp, and it also gives you the most glorious bit of information. If you're not aware of this, hold on to your butts. This is going to change the way you play the game. It lets you know about house upgrades, as well as there's an extension opportunity to extend and invest money into this back garden allotment. Such a simple one, but a lot of the time you tend to prioritize upgrading houses over like backyard extensions. So in this case, it's a simple one. Just change the color of green to some other color. So therefore this is a different color and this is a different color. Just so when you press tab, you can differentiate between extensions and house upgrades. That's a simple one. Once again, kind of a mid-game thing. You're looking through your houses. You want to, of course, get on top of your population to not hit your pop cap. In that case, you hold tab, you look around the map, and then you see a sea of green for all these backyard extensions. You're like, which one of these is the actual upgrade for the house? I can't see it. But if this was a different color, it would pop out more. In that case, you could just upgrade it. But as well, if you're looking for extensions for back gardens, you can find that one as well. Once again, it's a super simple one, but it just makes it easy to navigate to what your current investment is at this set moment. And as you can see in this case, another extension opportunity. What do you got? A brewery. And there we go. We've got all our extensions. One other thing you quite typically do quite often is upgrade housing. And there isn't a hotkey for it. It's a super simple one. There is a hotkey that you could bind that does 3 things. Upgrades housing. So you could hold tab, bind the house, hit that hotkey. Let's see, that hotkey is Y. No one's bound for Y. You have to move it over your hand. It's quite a bit of a distance for your finger, but you don't hit it that often, so it might be useful just to have it further away from your left hand. So you click it and you press Y, and it hits the upgrade button. Just saves you having to move around the menu, and you can just use it with your hands. Once again, you upgrade houses quite frequent in this game, so wouldn't it be really cool to have a hotkey for that, just to hit the button and boom, have it done? But not only that, why not do the same thing with Q and E and have it multi-use? Why not have the ability to also have the ability to upgrade granaries and also upgrade storehouses? Next up, it's one you don't do as frequently, but you do tend to find when you are pursuing bandit camps, you do hit this button quite often. So it's a simple one. You select a militia and then you've got a rally. Wouldn't it be nice to have R as rally? So it's basically hitting this button and then you could just click on the map. Once again, it's not a biggie, but once again, when you're selecting multiple militias and doing it one by one, it's quite excessive. Now there is a workaround. If you hold shift and select multiple militias, warbands, you can deploy them all at once. That's a way you can just save a little bit of clicks. But alternatively, wouldn't it be bad just basically do shift all, press R, click on the map, and then it will automatically hit your rally and you can click it and drop it on the map. Once again, just to save you some time, just from that repetitive task of click, rally, send it off, send them back, disband. And I suppose why not double it up as well? Why can't we disband as well? I suppose that could also be a hotkey, I suppose. Once again, use a hotkey for multiple uses depending on what you're selecting. In that case, you could use that as an auto disband. Get back to work. Get back to work. There's work to be done. As you're seeing a pattern here, a lot of these are hotkey orientated because once again, when you do a task multiple times in game, it's just super convenient to be able to have a key you can just jump to, and that will save you the time of having to do it multiple times in a row. Once again, it's all about where your left hand rests on your keyboard and having it the key that you use most frequently to be the one that you press most frequently. So therefore, your finger is always over left mouse button. Technically, that's kind of a hotkey, so therefore you press it frequently, so that's the one you have the closest to your hand. Does that kind of make sense? This is quite common in other grand strategy games, but wouldn't it be cool if 1, 2, and 3 affected the game speed? So 1 would be normal speed. You can see this in the bottom right. Actually, I'm in the way. Oh, I'm not in the way. You can actually just see me. 2 is fast forward. And then number 3 would be fast forward times 12. Once again, 1 speed, 2 speed, 3 speed. And you just assign that to 1, 2, and 3. And you're probably thinking, well, you've got assigned to your number pad, Dave. What's the point of having it all the way over there? Well, that's just kind of convenient because your left hand is already WASD. So you can just move your hand a little bit up and hit 1, 2, and 3 to affect the game speed. And then you can keep adjusting the game speed from there. And then you, of course, got your thumb, which is over spacebar. 1 speed, 2 speed, 3 speed. And it's pause, pause, pause. WASD to move around the map. All right, so we're talk about things now that aren't hotkeys. So one thing that isn't very clear, and this might because it's an early access thing, is when a army is rallying or moving, it's not crystal clear if it's running or not. So when they rally, they auto run. So if I move him here and press R, he's still got the icon here for looks like running. But if you look really closely, you can actually see it changing. Can you see it? The icon for running and walking looks very, very similar. And of course, when this is highlighted, that's when they're running. Now, this is crucial because this affects the stamina of your divisions and their ability to fight in battle. Did you see what I just said there? Divisions. What game am I playing? Your militia and how well they fight in battle. This is where it gets a bit confusing, though. Because if you select a militia and tell them to run, but then this one is not going to run, and then you tell them to move, and then you hold these two, you select both of these militia and then press R, what they're actually doing here is toggling each other. R is not run, R is toggle run. So this one now will be running and the other one won't be running. And for instance, for retinues, the heavy infantry here, these big boyos here with their big pole arms, when these guys run, their stamina drops incredibly quickly. And when their stamina is low, in this case, it's marked by the fatigue bar, that yellow bar. Their combat effectiveness drops, and you don't want that to happen. So a lot of times, you just want them to walk to the battlefield. It would be kind of cool when they rally, they don't automatically run. Because a lot of time you rally, then you lose all your stamina. I suppose, how would you implement that? I don't know. Slow rally. Rally, but you've got lots of time on your hands. I don't know. All right, this is a simple one. Probably one of those ones that's easily going to get fixed. But one of the issues with snow is it's not very clear certain elements of the game. I mean, for the most part, there is a learning curve to it. You do look at this and you're like, oh, what am I looking at here? Because the texture's different. And obviously, there's an adjustment period for that. The biggest concern, though, is when you place a well. Can you see it? Can you see it? But what we're actually on right now, we're actually on the water map mode, underground water. You can only really make it out when you zoom back because you can actually see it. This is water underground and this is water underground. And you'd only really be able to see it if it wasn't snowing. So it's very clearly blue in comparison to the green grass when you play without snow on. But right now it needs to be a different color because right now it's very hard to make out. It would just be easier if the overlay was a different color, so therefore it didn't clash with the snow. Microing of farms is a little bit of a pain. I suppose there's two suggestions I want to make with this one. Whenever there isn't any sowing or harvesting or plowing, which can be like 3 or 4 months of the year, any families assigned to the farmhouse just kind of don't do anything. And it would be kind of cool if the families who were assigned to farmhouses did something else like logistics in the meantime. I mean, that's a little tiny issue. But the biggest issue is that if I want the ability to unassign them off season, and it needs to be more clear when harvesting season has started and ended. So my tiny suggestion here is when you get the event pop up to say its harvest season has started, it'd be kind of cool if it played a different sound effect to the top of the screen. Now, it does play a sound effect, but it just plays one of the generic sound effects for the events. So I just think it'd be really cool if it just played some kind of harvest theme of some kind, so therefore you know crystal clear, oh, it's harvest season, let's go to the manor immediately and assign all my families to the farmhouse. Once again, it's a micromanagement thing, and I feel like if farmhouses had a function off season at like logistics for the people who live there, that'd be kind of cool. But otherwise, it feels like you have to micromanage them and take them off and add them on, because otherwise they're just sitting in there doing nothing. And of course, you want them doing something like, I don't know, chopping down trees. So you probably can see right now there's a pattern here. These are all hotkeys and also UI based things. Quality of life isn't about balance, and it isn't about like making things OP or things weaker. It's more about like making a better game experience, particularly for people who play it for long durations. And these style games, these kind of grand strategy RTSs, tend to be played for incredibly long and broad durations. So it's kind of better when they are a little bit more user friendly than normal. When you end up building a pretty big town, you've got lots of things. Trying to find a certain building is really tricky to do. So I'll give you an example. So have you noticed that like the granaries and the storage houses have similar roofs? Like tavern, for instance, looks very similar as well. So wouldn't it be kind of cool when you go into here, it has like a little number next to it on the left. So it tells you when you're in that region, you've already built 3 logging camps, and therefore you can find them. And then of course, top that off, when you hover over them, it also highlights them on the map as well. So for instance, I'm trying to find my tavern, because once again, some of these buildings look very similar. So I'll pop into residential, I'll see the tavern. And when I'm hovering over tavern, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they glowed on the map when you were hovering over them? And then when you could place them, you could see. And plus, to top it off as well, tell me how many taverns I've got per region. Include like a little number here on the left-hand side. And then look, the tavern would glow here. And therefore, I can't get it mixed up with the stable or the storehouse or the other stable. Just for an example. And you do find that when you're quite early at this game, and you've not played it a great deal, you tend to find that a lot of buildings look kind of similar. Of course, I've got some good hours in the game now. So for the most part, I can tell them apart. However, this is a really nice new friendly thing. And of course, another issue is if you have got a building you're not familiar with, you don't have to like click through each individual one to find that individual building. As you can see here, some of the earlier buildings have that thatch roof going on, and they're all very similar to look at, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. That'd be just really cool from a production perspective, so you can keep track of the production of all your buildings. We're all familiar with the trading post. There's been tons of videos talking about this. And of course, we're all familiar with the exploits of exporting tons of items. And there needs to be an overall better system to export items to not get unlimited resources, because it's just so unbelievably easy to do at the moment. And the cheapest item that I've found is either going to be bows. Shoes require, I think, 2 or 3 leather, which you get in your home location due to hunting. And you can also get it from goats as well. So it's a resource, a raw resource that's really easy to convert and get all of. So exporting is really easy. On top of it off, bows are pretty good too, because it requires planks, which chop down a tree, turn it into a plank, boom, you've got a war bow. So it's really cheap. And you can see they sell for a decent value of 5 for a bow and 8 for shoes. Okay, shoes seem to be the king then. Anyway, you can export an unlimited amount of these, and you can make an absolute ridiculous amount of resources, and you practically get unlimited money. You know, the big crux of the problem is not the export. Exporting is really cool. It's really nice you have an option to have an import-export town other than relying on processing raw resources, because it'd be kind of cool if there were areas in the world that didn't have many raw resources. For instance, this middle region maybe was a really good farming location but didn't actually have any raw resources. I mean, that's pretty extreme, but then it gives you an opportunity to make a trading town or a farm town, for instance, which is probably what the devs are going to do eventually. There's either 2 solutions for this. Long term, there needs to be a global cost for this item. And if the market gets oversaturated, the value of this item drops dramatically. So therefore, exporting doesn't really make you as much money as you would usually do. So if you do export 1,000 bows, the cost may drop down to 2 or maybe even 1 for exporting in and out. And then the second problem, I don't think the cost for export and importing should be equal cost for both sides. Meaning this, better deals trait is just way OP. It needs to be nerfed massively. This is just too good. I agree that this should exist for trading towns, as mentioned before. However, the effectiveness shouldn't be 1 for 1. Buying for the same price as selling 1 for 1. It's just too much. Maybe the prices are closer together for import and exporting, but they shouldn't be like for like, and it should always be a little bit more expensive to import, so you can create a balance between getting that balance just right. I suppose long term as well, it goes without saying, but hovering over your region wealth should give you like a bit of a bank statement to let you know what's incoming and what's outgoing, and roughly for that week or month or year, how much you've got incoming and outgoing, so you can roughly work out if you can balance your mercenaries, for instance, with your treasury, or balance your incomes and outcomes with your trade, for instance. Of course, I think that probably is coming in future anyway. Okay, a bandit camp has been sighted. Amazing. I click on it and I know what it is. This is practically the easiest way of finding bandit camps. However, one of the issues is if you miss this pop-up and you actively get a pop-up saying, oh, the bandits have stole your equipment, yeah, sure, you can click on it. But if you want to find that bandit camp through the event log, you can do that too. Alternatively, you can find it on the overall map. And I'll suggest to you now, if you're new to this game, you probably want to click on this or click on the bandits have stolen something from you, because that's the easiest way of finding it. The third way is if you know if there's bandits available for harvesting influence, for instance, you can zoom back. But one of the big issues with bandit camps, they're very difficult to make out. Now, can you see it? It's probably easy to find this one because it's dead center in the middle of your screen. Yeah, it's right there. There's your bandit camp right there. And of course, 9 times out of 10, if you're playing a game, you want to get rid of these bandit camps because they're annoying. They steal your equipment. And plus, when you wipe them out, you gain influence. So you always want to be the first one to wipe them out, not the enemy lord. But as you can probably see, the icon is very similar to a stone deposit. You look at the screen right now and sometimes you get lost and you can't find it. I don't know why this is a big deal for me, but once again, I always have to like look through the map and feel like it should instantly pop out to me what is the bandit camp. Why don't you just put like a red ring around it, so therefore the bandit camps instantly pop out and like, look, it's red, that's the one I wanted to attack, and that's the one I need to get rid of. But I think for the most part it seems to get lost in the other icons, so it'd be kind of cool if it just had a color and therefore it didn't look like a stone deposit. It's like, whoa, there's stone here, there's stone. Wait a minute, this is not stone. That's not a moon anyway. You get what I'm going with this, right? It would just be kind of nice and familiar to have an icon on screen for a bandit camp that wasn't just a white icon and it represented a different color. Or even that, don't give it a band around it. Maybe make the tent color something different other than white. So zoom in, and they're a bit yellowy. They're a bit yellow colored. But it's white on here. Deceiving my eyes. Anyway, once again, I told you guys are going to be screaming at me in the comments being like, what the hell is he doing? He's nitpicking like these tiny little things. Once again, I am a big believer in quality of life and computer games. And if you want computer games to last a bajillion years and be popular and be really strong, my advice is just to tweak gameplay elements to make them a little bit more customizable and improve the quality of life. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I a moaning old man? Let me know in the comments below. Apart from that, guys, if you want more videos, click this one. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.